Just thinking about it. All right. Hey, hello everyone. Kerry here from Homestead How with an exciting live stream carnivore episode. Carnivore Kipp. How's it going, Kipp? I'm so excited to talk to you. How have you been?
I've been doing wonderful, and I just want to say I appreciate you, Kerry, having me on. We've been trying to work it out for a while, and things just haven't worked out on my end. But it's good to finally get on here and chat with you, man. I'm excited to talk with you tonight.
Likewise. Yeah, I've mentioned some people know this, but I've been smoking and I use the cast iron skillet a lot too, but I've been smoking food for several years. I got a big Yoder smoker. And when I started carnivore 92 days ago, actually, I'm doing lion diet now for a couple days, but that's another story. But when I started carnivore 92 days ago, I was like, I'm done smoking stuff because in the past it was always these sugary rubs and barbecue sauce and all sorts of high carb sauces. But I think it was a couple of weeks ago, we smoked up. A friend of ours came over for my daughter's graduation, and he's the smoke master. His name's Mike. The guy's awesome, man. He makes some really good brisket, some things I've never made before, and he offered to cook. And he made up some country style ribs for us. He did a batch for all the non-carnivores, and then he did a batch for me and my two daughters who are doing carnivore with me. And he just did duck fat. He's like, he was like, big disclosure. I'm not being responsible if these turn out horribly. I wouldn't personally cook them this way, but since you insist, so he just did duck fat and Redmond salt, and it was absolutely delicious. And yeah, I don't know. I could go on forever about that, but I'm looking forward to talking to you more about smoking and barbecuing. But first, I guess I just wanted to talk to you a little bit more about your journey. I know you're doing YouTube now. I got this little banner here we'll put on the bottom. I suggest anyone watching this from my channel, go check out Carnivore Kipp's channel. I've really been enjoying your channel. You did a video, I think it was last week. You had me cracking up. It was hilarious. It was very funny. And really enjoyed it. So everyone go check it out. Carnivore Kipp Barbecue and Cast Iron on YouTube. But yeah, I wrote down just a couple questions, but I'm really laid back, informal. So I was just looking forward to talking to you in general. But I was hoping to hear maybe a little bit more of your story, your journey. Like, how did you start carnivore? How's it going? When did you start it? Kind of a little bit of background on that, if you could.
Got you. Well, I kind of have a typical story, as some people that have struggled with their weight, because there's a lot of people that have struggled with their weight for many years. I've basically struggled with my weight my whole life. Um, and so when I was in kindergarten, I was already over 100 pounds. And then by the time I was in middle school, I was over 300 pounds. And then I never even went to high school. I dropped out in the 8th grade. Thankfully, later I decided to go on to college anyway, so I got my GED and I went to college. But I had always struggled with weight, and even in college, I was over 400 pounds. And uh, by after college, I had got married, and I that just added a few more pounds on me, and those love pounds, I guess. And I had reached up to 492 pounds at my highest weight. At the doctor, my highest weight was 498 pounds, but at home it was 492 pounds. So I was right there at 500 pounds. And I guess what made me come to carnivore was I since I had struggled with weight my whole life, I had kept trying to do it just for me. I had kept trying to do different diets, and I had did low calorie multiple times, and tried to starve myself. And I've tried keto numerous times, and I don't say anything bad about keto because I believe keto is great, especially compared to what a lot of people are eating. And I feel the same about ketovore. I got a lot of respect for it too, but I had kept slipping up on keto and kept falling for all the keto snacks, and then the next day I would want the real thing after eating the keto snack. And so I got tired of going back and forth. But what really pushed me over the edge was last year my daughter was born, and we had prayed to have her for like 4 or 5 years. We had tried, and God finally answered that prayer. And so we had her, and then things were going good. But I wasn't worried about diet at first. But whenever she was about 6 to 9, about 9 months old, probably, I started noticing that, and it's kind of hard to talk about, but I love talking about it and sharing it with people because like there's other people that know what I'm talking about when it comes to this. But I would be laying or sitting in her nursery room, and while I was in her nursery, I would be in the chair with her, and I was all at almost 500 pounds. It was hard to get up out of her nursery chair, and what it was even harder because she was getting bigger and I was having an extremely hard time. And as a father, that like, as a father, it's really hard whenever you can't even do the little things for your child, or to put her down in her crib was getting hard. And sometimes I'd be like asking my wife if she could do it. And I'm like, man, you're only 29 years old and you're a father, so you need to be able to do these things. And because it's not like I got in some bad wreck or something, or was handicapped for some other reason. I was doing it to me. I was my problem. And so I decided on January 2nd of this year, 2023, I was like, I'm going to try carnivore because I had heard about it from, of course, Dr. Berry and everyone else. Dr. Berry is amazing. And so I decided to give it a try. And within like a couple weeks, I was hooked. And I noticed I started losing weight and things started getting better. But the most immediately, I noticed that my shoulder stopped hurting. And when my shoulder stopped hurting, I knew right then, like, even if I didn't lose another pound, because I had severe shoulder pain for a long time, I was like, if I don't lose another pound, but my shoulder feels this good, it's worth it for me. So I've been sticking with it ever since January, and I'm 5.5 months in, and it's just been amazing.
Wow. That is amazing. What a powerful and important reason to decide to start it. I think that's why a lot of people really enjoy your channel, and because of you yourself. I remember I came onto carnivore through Dante from Frigno Freedom. And one of the things that really hooked me on his channel was early, he said, ultimately, I'm doing this for my family. And I think you're kind of the same way. And man, that really hits home to a lot of people. I think that's a reason a lot of us are doing it. And so you saw some of Dr. Berry's videos. Man, we have a similar story too, because I'm the same way. I've got nothing against keto, but I lost a decent amount of weight on keto, and then I gained it back, and then I lost it again and gained it back. I did keto for like 10 years, and I totally agree with you. Those keto snacks are what really killed me. I've said this before, but I was joking around with someone, and I'm like, you kids have it so easy these days with all these keto snacks you got. When I was doing this 10 years ago, there was none of that. But yeah, in retrospect, those things really, I think, are messing a lot of people up. Just yeah, I would stall out on keto, and I'd get inflammation and back pain, and I would get all sorts of things. And I think it was in large part to those sort of keto snacks. But uh, so you started this for your daughter. You've been doing it about 6 months, a little bit longer now. And so you said Dr. Berry was what got you going. So what was it like? This is the question I get from everybody. They're always like, myself included, like when I started carnivore, I'm like, this is insane. You can't just eat meat. There's no way you can't just do it. So what were your first like couple days or your first week? What was it like for you? Was it easy, or did you get the keto flu or anything like that?
It wasn't terrible. I mean, I did get I got the runs, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But I just it wasn't that hard, and I think what it was I had done keto so many times, so I had kind of got used to that transition between burning fat as my fuel and going back to carbs, and burning fat as my fuel and going back to carbs. And so whenever I did it, it wasn't as huge of a transition for me. And I would tell most people that, like, because I honestly I didn't even use any of the electrolytes. The only electrolyte that I used was salt. And but I would say for most people, don't do what I did. Like, make it easy on yourself and use the electrolytes or something like that, especially early on, because that'll help a lot of people out with the transition or whatever, or even permanently if you want to keep doing it permanently. But I didn't use any of that stuff, and I think doing keto so many times kinda helped me with that.
Right. Yeah, I was the same way. I think it was a little easier for me. However, my daughter Emma, who people have heard about. She was a vegan for several years, and she's gone carnivore with me, and she's on day 42 right now with me. She's doing great. She was she was fine the first week, but I always tell people this, like you said, don't do what I do, do what the other people say to do. Like Dr. Barry, he's got a very good video on carnivore mistakes. I always tell people, go do your research and watch that video. It's free information. And some of his advice is kind of like what you were saying. Make sure you get enough electrolytes, tons of water. You got to eat fatty cuts of meat. That's one thing that always scares me on YouTube is I'll get a lot of people that are like, this is great. I'm going to go start this right now. I'm going to go buy some chicken. I'm like, there's certain things you have to do. And so, yeah, my daughter Emma, she eased right into it, and she didn't have any of those keto flu symptoms, and she never did keto before, but she had tons of electrolytes and water, and uh, maybe the fact that she's younger too might have helped. I'm not sure, but yeah, do your research. There's good information out there. So, yeah, so like your first when we say carnivore, there's so many different definitions of it. What kind of carnivore? Like, what were you eating? What's been your main diet? I guess that's the question I always get from people too. Is tell me exactly what you're eating, but can you give us kind of an idea?
Yeah, for example, I found out today, and of course I'm being sarcastic when I say this, but I found out today in my live stream or in my comment section that I'm not technically carnivore because a subscriber reminded me that I use seasonings sometimes whenever I cook food. I don't just use salt. Like a lot of people just use salt, and I get it that if I use black pepper or if I use garlic powder or if I use onion powder, I get it that that's technically not carnivore. But I guess my version of carnivore would be, and it's fine if people do like even line diet or anything. And I'm thinking about one day trying line diet. It's interesting to me. But my version of carnivore, I do have mostly beef. Sometimes I have pork every now and then, but if I have chicken, it's pretty much only chicken wings. I mean, if I was at some party and they had some leg quarters or something, I mean, and I knew what it was cooked in, I'd probably be fine with it. But for the most part, I eat beef and occasionally, even though they're not the cleanest thing in the world, I will eat hot dogs, especially like if I'm at work and there's not much else there and I didn't bring lunch that day, I'll go to a gas station and grab a hot dog. And I don't think it's the best thing in the world, but that's kind of my version of carnivore right now, and it has still been working for me. And the thing is, like on this journey, like I can always make changes. I don't want to feel like I'm stuck in one way. Like I can tighten up things if I need to. For like this month, I tightened up and I cut all cheese out. So I'm not having any cheese for the month of June, and I'm not having any, even my LaCroix that I was drinking or bubblies that had the flavoring in it. I'm only using water or the kind that's unflavored. So I can have carbonated water, but it can't have any flavoring in it. And then and I don't even drink coffee. So, I mean, I used to drink coffee every now and then, but it wasn't like a daily ritual. So, mainly I'm just having water or either carbonated water, unflavored. I don't do heavy cream because I'm not drinking coffee and I'm not going to just drink it by itself. I do have butter. Butter, mainly I cook with tallow. I cook with tallow or I cook with butter. Sometimes I cook with lard, but that's pretty much my version of carnivore diet.
Awesome. Yeah, the cheese thing you mentioned is interesting to me too, because that was one thing I I haven't done on carnivore yet. And I always tell people like everybody's different. Like you do you. I some people have different reactions to things. A lot of people are just fine with cheese. That was one thing that always stalled me out on keto. And I could never eat just I don't know what my problem is, but I can't do anything in moderation. So I would used to get these little cheese cubes when I was doing keto. I think they were at Sam's Club or Costco, and they're fine on for low carb and keto if you eat just a couple. But I would never eat just a couple. I ended up eating too many, and even when I didn't eat a lot, it just seemed like it would always stall my weight loss. But yeah, everyone's always different though. So you mentioned thinking about maybe trying the lion diet. So I just started that I think 4 days ago. I started on day 88, and my thing was, I just did an interview with Dante from Frigno Freedom. He's been doing Lion Diet. I think he switched things up a little bit here or there, but he's basically been doing Lion Diet for 900 days. I was on day 90. I'm like, this guy's been doing it 10 times as long as me. It's amazing. But he's got such a great channel too, and he's been an inspiration. And he said he's tested some other things out and it's messed him up. I was just like, I just want to try something a little bit different. I can pretty much do anything now that I've been doing carnivore for 88 days. I can do 12 days of Lion Diet, but I always I try to be careful not to sell people and be like, you should do this, you should do that. I think everyone should make their own decisions and do whatever. But it's been great for me so far. I feel even better than I was on carnivore, which is hard to believe because I feel amazing on carnivore. But my energy and my mood, it just seems to be even better than it was on carnivore. But who knows? I'm only a couple days into it, day 4 or 5. The other thing that I really like with this too that I didn't think about though, uh, was going shopping. So we get a lot of steak and meat from our neighbor. It's all grass fed. It's pretty good stuff. But sometimes I'll go to Costco. And I went to Costco before. I get like bacon and I get the grass fed butter and I get a bunch of eggs. And we have our own chickens, but we always run out because we use so many of them. So, anyways, I went shopping the other day. It was really nice just to get steak. That was it. It was just like, and I'm like, I'm gonna get a little bit of a nicer steak because I don't have to buy all of those other things. And it's already you're worrying about way less on carnivore versus the standard American diet when you buy 10 million things from Costco. It's just like steak, butter, bacon, eggs. But now it's just steak, so it's even a little bit easier. But uh, yeah, that's really cool. So you've been doing this for 6 months. I guess, every journey has its ups and downs. Like, what have been some things that have happened significantly over your 6 months for you? Like, I guess, great things or things that roadblocks, things like that too?
Well, I mean, some of the great things would be, well, the biggest thing to me was the shoulder pain because it hurt for like 3 or 4 years, and, I had been to physical therapist about it, and I had been to orthopedic specialists, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, you have arthritis," and I have this autoimmune condition called sarcoidosis, and it had affected things, and, there were different issues that I was having, and, like, basically all the cartilage in my shoulder was, like, deteriorating, and about 2 weeks after I started carnivore, that pain just vanished, and then, which was incredible in itself, but then after that, I noticed, you're not having to take Tums anymore, and I was taking, like, some medicine at one point that the doctor was prescribing for, acid reflux,
Mhm.
and then I noticed I was like, "Man, you're not having to take that anymore, and not only that, you're not having to take ibuprofen or Tylenol anymore whenever you're in pain." Because we had a little place at work where I could go grab, ibuprofen during the day and just to get me through the rest of the day, and I noticed I wasn't having to go grab it anymore, so I haven't took ibuprofen in probably 5.5 months. I haven't took Tums in probably about the same amount of time, and it's just a lot of another thing that I forget to mention sometimes is I was diabetic, and I started so I started I've actually only been carnivore 5.5 months, and because I started in January, and so after I started, I got my labs done in May, which was about 4.5 months or so in. I'd have to calculate it. I think it was around 4.5 months in, and in 4.5 months, I went from diabetic, which it was 6.6, wasn't like an extremely high number, but it was diabetic. And it would have only kept going higher if I would have kept gaining weight and kept not doing anything about my sugar. Because, I mean, thankfully, I was only 29. If I would have found this when I was 49, it would have been much worse, I'm sure. But I went from 6.6 to 5.6 in 4 months, so I went from diabetic to not diabetic, and I'm not pre-diabetic, not anything. But I mean, there haven't been a lot of you ask about bad things, there haven't been a lot of negative things. I made that video trying to poke fun about the negative things, but there haven't been too many negative things. I guess when I go out to eat with family, it can be a little bit more difficult because they feel like they have to find a restaurant that would accommodate me, and I don't like feeling like a burden on other people, but or like I'm the person, making us have to go somewhere that everyone else doesn't want to go to. But that, and then I mean, my journey hasn't been perfect, okay? I'm not saying that which I know you talk about not cheating and everything, and I want to not cheat. I definitely want to not cheat, but I have cheated twice. I cheated one weekend. It was like, so I started in January, so it was like early February. It was my daughter's birthday weekend, and we went out to this sushi restaurant, and we had a bunch of people down for that, and we all went out and ate sushi. So I cheated that time. Then I got back on the wagon and was doing great for like 3 or 4 months, but I hit a stall in, I think, in May. And it was like, and I should have knew it was coming because I've watched enough videos from all the other, carnivore people and everything. And so I was in a stall for like a month and I couldn't lose any weight. And um and it started getting frustrating. And then my birthday came up at the end of May, and that weekend I was like, I'm just gonna go out and have a cookie, and I had like Taco Bell for supper. I don't even know why I was thinking it was such a dumb decision, but that, and during that stall, I had started letting cheese creep back into my, because when I first started, I was doing good with like keeping cheese out, keeping all that stuff out, but I had let that stuff creep in. Well, when I checked my scale after I cheated, I was up 11 pounds. And I was like, oh my goodness, I know that it's not all fat. I know that it's not 11 pounds of fat, but there's definitely inflammation and my body's holding water. I have got to tighten things up. So right after that, I started back and I've lost that 11 pounds. And then, or in the month of June, I've lost that 11 pounds. And then I've lost 4 more pounds on top of that. So right now I'm down 84 pounds.
Wow.
And it could have been more than that, but there were times in the beginning, them 2 times in the beginning where I was not doing my best. And then the cheese, like you mentioned, the cheese can stall you. I
Mhm.
kept letting cheese creep in, and for me, I have found every time that I eat cheese, if I were to weigh the next day, the scale's gonna be up. And I feel more bloated too. My belly just feels different whenever I have cheese in my diet.
Yeah, that's the case. That's one of the most prevalent comments and replies I've been getting on my channel is people, they say they stall out, and that's my automatic go-to, and other people commenting too. I always just put cheese question mark, and almost every time it's like, yep, 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 stalling me out that cheese. So that's good that you found it and changed it. And yeah, I got to be careful. Sometimes I'm too blunt, like, oh, nobody should cheat. I never cheat. I always, for me myself, I have such a highly addictive behavior, and I've cheated so many times throughout my keto career, if you will. I used to, in fact, the last year that I did keto, I was doing this like cheat day on Saturdays, and it was always horrible for me. Some people are fine, you know, they'll do it every now and then and they could just stop, but I would do it, and I basically, it was almost like an eating disorder. I'd basically be binge eating. I'd be shoving so much stuff in my face because I'm like, this is it. This is Saturday. Tomorrow I'm back on keto. I can't do it. Let's get some birthday cake. Let's get some this. I want to try. It would always start out with good intentions too for me. I'd be like, oh, I'm just going to eat a little fruit today. That would be good. Maybe some raspberries or strawberries. And then 2 hours later, I'd have that sugar crash and I'd be just craving something so bad. Yeah, and so for myself, I have to set myself up that way that I'm never gonna cheat. I really look at it now like, again, everyone's different. I'm just saying this for my own self, but I look at it now like I'm so addicted to sugar and processed foods. And I was talking to Dave on the live stream last week on Saturday, and he was saying the same thing with his, that guy's amazing. He got over alcoholism and he quit food at the same time, quit sugar and carbs at the same time. And so I was telling him, like, I feel like I just have this highly addictive behavior. If I have one granule of sugar, I'm just going to go nuts. So, and he was saying he's kind of the same way. So there's certain people that I think are just that way. I keep, I, the other thing I look at too is when I did keto and I had those cheat days so many times over the course of a year, every Saturday for a long time, I was doing it. Never once did I on Sunday be like, "Gee, that was great." I've done the Taco Bell thing too. "Gee, that was great. I'm so glad I got that Taco Bell. I feel wonderful now." I always felt horrible and bloated and inflamed, shameful. Like this was just, it was never worth it. And I kept doing it too. I would still keep doing it over and over again. But Yeah, now on carnivore, I'm just like, I'm completely done with it. I'm looking at it like I was addicted to heroin or something, and I got off of it after 42 years, and I can't just do a little bit of heroin anymore. That's just for myself personally. It's how kind of how I'm looking at it. But what are you thinking for goals for the future carnivore diet? Do you have any specific like weight loss, or do you plan on doing this forever, or maybe switching to ketovore or back to keto or something at some point? Or do you have any thoughts about that?
Um, I'm actually scared to switch back to anything else because I feel like if I start switching back to other things, it may trigger things or may make me because I feel the same way about sugar and different foods. Like even the sugar that's in like berries, like strawberries. I love strawberries, but I'm scared like if I start having all that the little sugary things and when I used to do keto, I would be like, "Man, I'm gonna eat all these I'm gonna get some pecans and I'm gonna make this bag last however long or whatever," and it was gone that day.
Yep.
And, so I'm like, it to me, it's not worth it because for one, even though I felt good on keto, I feel better on carnivore, and that's nothing against anybody that does keto. I just personally feel better on carnivore. That's kinda why I kinda wonder about carnivore diet as well. But yeah, I don't see me going back to anything. If anything, I see me going stricter. Like I could eventually see myself going stricter, whether it be strictly BBB and E. And I've thought about, and I know that there's so many mixed feelings on butter. There's this topic going on with like butter being maybe you shouldn't have butter, maybe you should, and I've thought about even just sticking with my tallow and cutting out butter for a little while and just see, because I
Mhm.
do like to experiment. But then again, and the only reason I say that is because some people have been mentioning like the dairy that's in butter. But I mean, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know all the things. I just know that I do want to try things to see. Now, you've probably seen people talk about this sardine fast, and I haven't tried that. And I keep seeing people. I have people on my channel all the time tell me, "Kip, you need to try the sardine fast, and it'll help you with your stall and all this other stuff." But I haven't done enough research on it. But I might look into it at some point, and it might be something that I keep in my back pocket to try it at some point.
Right. I my daughter Emma and I did a video a while back. I had never eaten sardines my entire life. Everyone was making fun of me. They're like, "You big baby," and I'm like, "Ah, it just seems so gross, like the little fish with the bones in it and everything." And actually, the ones that we ate were sardines that they're actually fillets, and there wasn't even bones in it. But it was delicious. And my daughter Emma, she ate the whole container of it. It was really good. But yeah, I've seen some of the challenges where they do it for a longer term time. I'm not ready for that quite yet, but yeah, I'm the same way. I'm scared to take anything back in. On one hand, I am. I was joking on the live stream last Saturday with Dave and Sean. I keep having these reoccurring nightmare, and I'm at a birthday party, and someone throws a piece of birthday cake, and it hits the wall, and in slow motion, a little piece of frosting comes flying towards my mouth, like right towards my lip. And I'm like, no, I'm so just terrified of like accidentally eating sugar or something. But it's crazy. I've had that dream like 3 or 4 times now. It's so weird. But yeah, I'm the same way. I don't want to reintroduce anything. On the stall, you mentioned a couple times. I'm fine with butter too. I've basically been doing the beef, butter, bacon, eggs, mostly beef. But on the stall, the one thing that I have, and you mentioned experimenting too. That's awesome that you're doing that. I was talking to Anita from Ketogenic Woman. I think she's 65 and she's been doing this for a long time. She's lost a bunch of weight. One of the coolest things about her was she's always experimenting. So she tried this for a while where she's like, I'm going to just try I'm going to do everything the same, but I'm going to try to really up my fat because I think I haven't been getting enough fat. So she just did that experiment for 30 days. Then she did another experiment. I think she did lion diet for 30 days and she just keeps doing for years. She's been doing carnivore, but she keeps doing these other experiments. That was one of the reasons I'm like, well, what the heck? Why don't I try something too? That's why I've been doing the lion diet. And I've only committed to doing it for 12 days till I hit day 100. And then I was going to go back to strict BBBE carnivore. And for those who are asking, I saw a couple comments come through. They're like, what the heck is lion diet? Lion diet is only ruminant meat, usually beef, salt, and water. That's it. And so if you check out Dante from Frig No Freedom or Michaela Peterson, Jordan Peterson's daughter. I think Jordan Peterson too is just doing that only, just beef, salt, and water. And a lot of people that want to do that, it's because they have other issues like autoimmune disorders or skin issues or things like that. But I was just doing it for fun just to see. I am feeling better, and it's kind of a new tool in my toolbox. So maybe something to think about, Kip, if you stall out like that and you're getting really frustrated, maybe just be like, "Hey, I'm going to just try Lion Diet for 2 days or 3 days or something." Like anybody can do that, especially if you're already on carnivore, just steaks for a couple of days. I bet you it would kick you out of a stall. That's in my little toolbox now going forward, is if I go back on carnivore and I stall out, I'm gonna jump back onto Lion Diet. But who knows? Because maybe after 12 days, when I hit day 100, I might just keep doing Lion Diet because it's been feeling really good so far. But
Mhm.
yeah, this is awesome. I'm really enjoying this. So let's get into some of the really fun stuff now too that I guess we both have in common. So the cooking. So your YouTube channel is Carnivore Kipp Barbecue and Cast Iron. How has that played into carnivore diet for you? Are you still smoking up a bunch of stuff and using cast iron? The other question, sorry, this is a whole bunch of questions at once. The other question is, are there certain go-tos where you're like, I'm going to smoke this, I'm going to put this on the cast iron skillet, but no, this particular type of meat or food, I need to grill. Is there anything like that you've been doing?
Well, if you look at the way that I named the channel, I tried to think about it when I named the channel. So barbecue comes first. So I would say my preferred method of cooking is always going to be using a smoker outdoors or anything like that. But now so like even if I'm cooking a steak, my preferred steak would be to reverse sear it, and I like to cook it low and slow and then sear it over but I don't sear it in the pan usually. I normally sear it over the coals. But you can sear it in the pan like you were talking about. It puts a good flat sear on it. But then my next method would be, okay, so if I can't cook it outside, or if I'm in a hurry and I don't need to wait on the charcoal to come up or wait on my wood pit to get burning good, then in that situation, the next best thing for me is cast iron, because I just love cast iron cooking. I love cooking. I loved cooking with cast iron even before I started carnivore, and definitely I loved barbecue before I got into the carnivore diet. I'd been cooking barbecue for like 8 to 10 years and loved it. And that's why a lot of my barbecue now is like my everything that I've learned about barbecue. Some of the stuff I can still keep, but I've had to change up so many things along the way because carnivore has I mean it's just made me do a lot of things different without the sugar and the brown sugar and the rubs and all the sauces and all that stuff. Everything's had to change. But yeah, I like both cooking methods, but barbecue the most.
That's great. Yeah, that's the new thing I've been doing for the last, I guess, month or so, and it's awesome, and it's kind of ruined it for me because now every time I want a steak, I want to do this method, but it takes a while, and it's that reverse sear you mentioned. So I have a Yoder pellet smoker, and I'll cook it low and slow. I think I do it at like 200 or 225, and I got a little Bluetooth thermometer, so it'll tell me. I think I have it set with a little alert, so when it hits 125 in terminal temperature, I'll pull it off. But yeah, I've just been putting it on the cast iron skillet. I don't have a charcoal grill. I only have a propane one. Would you ever take it off there and just throw it on the propane grill, get that thing really hot and just sear it up that way?
I don't cook with propane.
I thought you were gonna say that. So you would only
I'm
do it
more
on the
of a
charcoal, right?
I'm more of a purist. There in the barbecue world, there's purist, and then there's like your weekend warriors and everything.
Yeah.
And and I like if you're a barbecue purist, you just don't use gas grills. And
That's
I don't
awesome.
even use like a lot of people use the charcoal. A lot of people use the charcoal that has like that match lot stuff, and it's got lighter fluid in it. I
Right.
don't use that stuff at all. It never touches my smokers. If I can't build the fire with like some tumbleweeds, or I have this the only propane I use is I have this thing, it's called a big weed burner, and I use that to like light my pits like super fast, especially my big wood smoker outside. I'll light my wood really fast with that. But yeah, I don't use propane.
Don't mess with propane. That's awesome. That's so funny. I'm glad I didn't say I cook it low and slow on the smoker and then bring it in and put it in the air fryer to finish it off.
Yeah,
That'd have been worse than propane, right?
that's a sin to me, okay?
That's awesome. But yeah, I haven't done it on the propane grill, just the cast iron so far. And I've got this guy Mike that came over. He's a friend of our family, and he's a really good smoker. He brought me some Wagyu beef tallow, and so I put that in the cast iron skillet and sear it up afterwards. And I've probably done it 4 or 5 times now. It takes a lot of time, but it's not that bad because I don't know if you've got these, but the Bluetooth the thermometer, I throw it in the smoker and I just go do other things. It'll just ding me on my phone as soon as it's ready. So it takes all the guesswork out of it. But
Yeah, I have one called a Fireboard, and I used it for a long time, but, like, I guess if you cook enough barbecue, sometimes you get to a point where you don't even really need that stuff. You kinda know about how long certain things are gonna take, and I'll just go out there a couple minutes ahead of time and check it and see if I need to let it keep going. But that stuff, like, anybody that's starting barbecue or, that just don't have time to go out there and check their pits and stuff, definitely get you something like it doesn't have to be a Fireboard because that's an expensive one. There are cheaper ones out there. You can find what works for your budget, but those work as well. But I would say definitely if you can't even have that, one thing that as long as I've cooked barbecue, the most important thing for me to have at all times is an instant read thermometer
mm,
to know whenever your meat's at the right temp. You can say I'm gonna look at it and look at it and look at it. I don't care if you've been cooking barbecue for years. Looking at it, it works decent, but it is never going to be as accurate as using a thermometer and on your large cuts of meat to actually take the probe. If you don't have a probe, use toothpicks. You can use toothpicks or something and probe the meat. And when it feels like it's cool butter, you know that the meat's ready if it's like a pork butt or a brisket, but not warm butter. Because if you let it get to warm butter, then you've already cooked it too long. It's going to be mushy. You want the cool butter filling with it whenever you probe it.
that's awesome. Yeah. And those little instant read thermometers, those are relatively inexpensive. And yeah, that saved me so many times. What are some tips you would give to someone that's like, "Hey, I'd like to start smoking." Like, what's a good? Because I have a I guess it's well, I don't know. You could tell me. I have a Yoder smoker. It's a decent one. I've had it for a couple of years now. It's such a big cast iron thing. Like it's hard to lift off the cover, so it's a big heavy duty one. But it's just a pellet smoker, and I didn't know anything about smoking before I got that thing. In fact, someone sent it to me because they wanted me to do a YouTube video on it. I was like, sure, what the heck? I'll try it. And then the first food I made on it, I was like, this is one of the best things I've ever eaten. I think a lot of people, they'll go to a restaurant or something and they'll say, give me some ribs. But when did they cook those ribs? And they just like rewarm them. It's very rare to eat something unless you go to Carnivore Kipp's house or you come to someone's house that has a smoker where you get something that's just off the smoker. It's so delicious. I don't think you can get that at a restaurant. Even if you go to maybe you've got better barbecue places down there than I do. But even the barbecue places around here you go to, it's not like they're just taking it off the smoker. They probably smoked it 8 hours ago or maybe even the day before, and then they're rewarming it. So that's when I fell in love with it. It was great. But yeah, what do you say for people? I know like some of the big box stores have pellet smokers and things like that. What's a good sort of entry level for people that just want to start smoking food for the first time?
Yeah, well, first off, I want to say that I'm very familiar with Yoder smokers. I've owned two of them. I've owned their Yoder YS640, which is what you have,
Yeah.
and then I've also owned their one of their offsets. I believe it was the Yoder Cheyenne. That they have a loaded Wichita, and then they have some other bigger ones. And Yoder is a good company. Like so, don't think I'm hating on Yoder or whatever, but when it comes to pellet smokers, I mean, if somebody when it comes to me giving people advice on getting into barbecue, it really depends on the person. Well, it depends on two things. It depends on their budget and what they're wanting out of their barbecue. Like, are they wanting some convenience? Because if they're wanting convenience, the best thing you're ever going to get is a pellet grill. Like, because you can just set it and forget it and go away, and voila, you got great food. But if you want if you want the truest of the true, like if I opened up a barbecue restaurant in Texas and I was using pellet smokers, they'd run me out of the state because they know that it's really good, but it's not the same flavor profile that you're going to get from using a real wood fire. Like my big pit, my Shirley, it was custom made by one of the best pit. I genuinely mean this, and I don't work for them. They're genuinely one of the best pit builders in America. Uh, Anybody that knows a lot about barbecue knows about Shirley fabrication. But anyway, but with the pellet grills, you got so many different tiers. Like you have your low end Walmart stuff. And if that's what's in your budget, get something like that. Get a Pit Boss makes one that's pretty good. I mean, there's this brand that everybody knows about called Traeger, but I'm not really a Traeger fan. To me, I feel like they're flimsy for the money. But then you can step up into this brand called RecTech. There are some other brands, but I'm gonna just name like 4 or 5 brands that I really do think are good for your money. So if you want to spend a little bit more money, you could get like a RecTech pellet grill. Then my next tier would be a Yoder Smokers. A Yoder Smokers is a fabulous smoker. They're kind of, I wouldn't say they're middle of the road. I'd say they're like upper tier, but not at the top. Then above that, there's not many other ones that I would name, but two that come to mind is Lone Star Grills. They have a pellet smoker that's really good. And then my dream pellet smoker that I think is the best pellet smoker on the market is a Pits and Spits pellet smoker. Like, and they have different models. I don't own one, but I think that that's the best pellet smoker on the market. But when it comes to back to like charcoal grills, then you're losing convenience at some point. So it's not for everybody because you have to actually work with the charcoal and manage the fire. But there's a lot of different ones you can get. Like if you want to go cheap, I wouldn't go any cheaper. I wouldn't go to like the Walmart flimsy ones, but I would at least get a Weber kettle, or you could get. I use on my back porch. I have 2 charcoal grills. One of them is a S&S kettle grill, and it's a great pit. And then the other one is a PK grill, and it's called a PK 360, and it's an awesome pit. And then you just got, I could go on and on. I don't want to take this whole live stream going on and on, but there's other types of smokers, the wood smokers. I use a drum smoker a lot. And shout out to Hunsaker Drums. They have an awesome pit. I don't work for them, but I believe in the product. And there's multiple good. There's just a ton of good pits out there. You just got to know what you're looking for.
Right. Someone was asking if I just use my regular like Weber kettle, what would be the steps to smoke something in that?
You want on a Weber kettle, well, if you can afford it, the company that makes the S&S grills that I have, they also make an insert that fits inside the Weber kettle. It's called the Slow and Sear. You can just type up snsgrills.com and go to their website and look under accessories or something, and you'll see the Slow and Sear. But you can set that in there, and it helps to keep all of your coals on one side. And then but you can do it yourself without that. You could stick some bricks in there if you want to, but it doesn't work as good as the Slow and Sear because it was designed for that. But you want your coals, because when you're smoking meat, you want your coals on one side, and then you want your, or just like if you were using a wood smoker, your fire's going to be on one end and your meat's going to be in a different place. It's not going to be above it, because then you're not smoking the meat, you're grilling the meat. So you want your coals, even with a charcoal pit, you want your coals on one side. You have to have your airflow in the bottom, your air intake. So you have to have that open so it can breathe. Fire needs oxygen. And then you want your stack, the little 4 little vents that are on the top. You want them on the side away from the fire, because you don't want your heat to go straight out the top of the pit. You want it to come over to where the meat is. So you're going to have your fire on one side, your meat on the other side, and you just want it to kind of just come up and come out over the meat. Hopefully people understand what I'm saying. And keep your pit, if you're using a Weber kettle, it's a small pit, so try to keep your temps lower, like 275 or below, because you don't have a lot of space inside of the kettle grill because it's not very big, and your meat can get burnt on the outside just from the being near the metal.
Mm.
That's why bigger pits work better in a lot of situations, because the meat is sitting there, but there's so much space in between the meat and the outside walls of the pit, and it makes it to where you're way less likely to burn the meat.
Awesome. Wow. This is some good stuff. What is you love talking barbecue and smoking, don't you?
That before, if I would have never started carnivore, I would have eventually started a YouTube channel probably about barbecue, because barbecue's been my passion. My wife will tell anyone I have spent bagoodles and bagoodles of money on barbecue stuff over the years and barbecue products, because like while all my friends were out hunting and fishing, I was cooking barbecue. And always what I want, I would get home from work and fire up a pit, and get home from work and fire up a pit. And it was rewarding too, because I got to eat the meat. There were times where they went hunting, which I like hunting and fishing too, but there was times where they went hunting and they come home and they didn't have something. Because I went and got some meat, I had something for sure.
Something good too.
Oh, yeah.
How did you get into barbecuing? Did you go somewhere and just have some amazing food, or did you just start doing it yourself and you're like, wow, this is really good?
Um, a friend of mine, a coworker, he was into barbecue competitions, and, he was actually my manager at the time, and me and him, we'd be at work, and we'd talk barbecue all the time because he was in competitions, and, me and my wife, we had just bought our first house, and so this was probably 8 or 9 years ago now, I can't exact yeah, something like that. But anyway, uh, he had been talking to me about barbecue, and I was like, "Man, I gotta learn this stuff." And when I put my mind to something, I'm gonna sit down and figure it out. So, I bought me a Weber kettle from Walmart, and, whenever we bought the house, I was like, I bought a new house, I have to have a grill. So, I started learning, and the food was terrible, but I kept going, and I kept asking him questions every day at work. We'd talk for a couple hours about barbecue and different things that he did, and he really helped me get going. Like, I owe him a lot, because he taught me a lot of things that a lot of people don't know. And then over time, I started watching more YouTube channels that, just like I do now with carnivore, I started watching tons of barbecue YouTube channels, and I still watch a bunch of
Mhm.
YouTube channels that cook barbecue. And I've just learned so much over the years from them, and I've kind of helped a lot of them learn things just in the comment section, be like, "Hey man, if have you tried this? Hey, have you tried that?" Even though I didn't have a channel, and I never had the courage to start a channel, but I had always wanted to start a channel. But once I started carnivore, I don't know if something shifted in me mentally or what, but like I have more courage than I've ever had, or more confidence than I've ever had. And you know, just to be here talking with you tonight is not something that I would have wanted to do publicly before now. And so, I don't know, that I can just say that carnivores helped me with that for some reason. And plus just being so excited about the results that I've gotten has helped me be like, man, I need to share this with other people, and hopefully it'll help somebody else.
That's awesome. It's carnivore. Carnivore is doing it for you. I'm the same way. I used to, I would, I've said this before on my channel, but in my job before, sometimes I'd have phone calls with clients, and on my lunch break, I'd be like, I'm just going to crash my car into a tree, and then I can get out of talking to this person on the phone call. I used to have horrible anxiety, and I never would have done any of this. I get so many nice comments on my channel, like, "Oh, your video is inspirational. Like, you need to do more of these." And I'm like, it's so weird hearing that, because before carnivore, that was not the case. I've been doing YouTube for a long time, but it's mostly like, hey, I'm building this chicken coop or something. Like, here's me building it. It's not like kind of motivational talking to the camera sort of thing, or interviewing people like this. So yeah, that's one of the things I really love about carnivore too. Life is so much better now, like making human connections with people, meeting cool people like you and Sean and Dave. And I've met so many people now that I wouldn't have without carnivore, because frankly, I just had too much anxiety to even talk to people. But
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
really
I
cool.
actually talk to people now even about my journey where at first I wanted to keep quiet about things, but and not just blab it to everybody. But now I'll just catch myself talking to people about it and everything. And I was talking to people about it today, and I get so excited because of the results that I've got. And I just want to share it with other people and let other people know that this is an option, it can change their life. I'm not saying that everybody's gonna do it, but I really hope that more people get on board with it.
Yeah, you're an inspiration too. You're watching all these other YouTubers, but people are watching you now and inspired by your story and the fact that you're doing this for your daughter and the progress you've made and everything. That's one of the things I said. Now that I'm on carnivore, I don't have any addictions anymore. And then I was like, wait a minute, I'm kind of addicted to like talking about carnivore now and telling people about it because I'm the same way. It's been so life changing on every level. Nothing to even do with the weight loss. All of the other things that have changed has been so life changing. And my thing is, I know there's other people out there that are hopeless and struggling or had really bad depression or multiple other issues, and they're hopeless and they think there's no answer. And it's like there is this answer. And then when you start seeing some of the comments come in on the YouTube videos, I'm sure you're getting this too. Like, hey, your video inspired me. Now I'm going to go do this. And that 30-day video I did, that was going to be my only video on carnivore. I'm usually my name of my channel is Homestead Owl. I'm usually doing homesteading videos, but I had just so many comments of people saying like, this was this was life changing. Like I watched your 30-day video. I've had so many comments saying that too. They watched the 30-day video and they started, and that was, um, geez, that was almost 70 days ago now, 60, 70 days ago now. And they're like, I've been doing this for 50 days now, and it's changed this, and it's changed this, and it's changed this. And it's like, it's so motivational. I'm like, I just got to keep doing these videos. There's nothing really more rewarding than people that are hopeless and they're able to change their lives. And I think that's why a lot of people are resonating with you and enjoying your channel as well.
Yeah, I remember when I first seen that video of yours, I was just scrolling through my phone and the video popped up or whatever about you doing carnivore for 30 days. And I was like, who is this cat? I was like, he's got a bunch of views on this video. I gotta check it out. He must be like one of the big dogs that I didn't know about. And then I clicked on it and I started watching it and I was like, man, this is something else. And then I don't remember at some point you messaged me and we started conversating back and forth. And so I've been excited to talk with you on here for a while, man. I really have been excited to chat with you for a bit.
Yeah, likewise. Like I said, everyone that's from my channel that they're probably already familiar with you, I'm sure, but if they're not, go check out Kipp's channel, Carnivore Kipp on YouTube is Carnivore Kipp Barbecue and Cast Iron. You got a great channel. It's always entertaining. That last video I was cracking up watching, but yeah, that 30-day video took me by surprise too. Like I really enjoyed doing it. I think it was because I was passionate about it and I was just being truthful. But yeah, most of my videos that I've been doing on YouTube, they get like 600 views, and that one just every now and then one will tick off and do very well. But most of them get like 500 or 600 views, which I guess is a lot. But yeah, that one is at over 500,000 views now, and I can't believe it. I think a lot
It
of people
means
were,
it means that you found your calling.
yeah,
And
yeah, I guess
you
so.
found your calling.
Yeah, yeah. No, I appreciate it. Like I said, it's very rewarding. I've been enjoying doing it. And since then, I'm like, I'm just going to do a little update every Tuesday. So that's what I did today. I was up at 5 o'clock this morning. I was outside filming and editing, and I try to do it all in one day. And it's the weirdest thing too, because I'm not even really editing them. But yeah.
Yeah.
So what another question I had for you on the smoking side, I guess one last I should take some of these questions people are posting here. What's your go-to? Like what's your if you could have anything, what's it like? Oh, I just really this is my favorite.
Are you talking about my favorite cut of meat?
Yeah, or your favorite thing to smoke up.
Oh, definitely. I know for sure it's dino ribs.
That's
I
right. You told me
love
that last time.
I love dino ribs. I mean, I love brisket and stuff like that as well. Brisket is more of that cut for when you're trying to feed more people or if you're trying to meal prep to last a while. But if you just want to cook something that you're going to sit there and gnaw on the bone and it's just going to rock your world, you want dino ribs. There's 3 bones in dino ribs, and they're called dino ribs for a reason because they look like they come from a T-Rex,
Hmm.
and they're super big. And each person will only be able to finish usually like one of the meat off of one bone because they're so big. They're not the cheapest cut of meat. Like for 3 bones, it's like probably 40 to 50, $60 or something like that. But for me, it's worth every penny. I love dino ribs. But and one thing that, I'll say with doing carnivore, I love ribeyes, okay? But there are also a lot of other great cuts of meat out there. Like last night or a couple days ago, I did a video smoking a tri-tip, and I did the reverse sear method that you were talking about because I love reverse seared tri-tip. And there's so many other good cuts, like you've got your Denver steaks, and they're good. Oh, what else? Hanger steaks. Those are ones a lot of people don't know about hanger steaks because a lot of times the butchers they call it the butcher's cut because the butchers would keep it for themselves and not sell it to everybody because other people didn't want it, but the butchers were scoring because it's a really good cut of meat. You just have to know how to cut a hanger steak. There's picanha. It's really well known in Brazil, but you can get it in the US. Sometimes some Costco's have it or some specialty butcher shops have it. But picanha is an awesome cut of beef and all the other different steaks that you would get. And that's one cool thing about a cow is it's like there's so much to a cow. There's so many different cuts that you can get off of a cow
Yeah.
that like even if you're doing line diet, you can keep yourself entertained with different meat options if you're not just getting that same cut of meat because there's so many different cuts that you can have. But I mean, I love a good ribeye, like a good juicy ribeye with a good bit of fat on it. That's good as well.
Same here. That is so true, and something I didn't realize pre-carnivore. Like I ate a decent amount of steak on and off before, but I can I can tell so much the different tastes between different cuts of beef. Just like you were saying. Like if I was closing my eyes eating a ribeye, I could tell the difference between that and a New York strip or this or that or sirloin or whatever. And some of them are just like people always ask me like, "Aren't you sick of steak? Aren't you sick of beef at this point?" I'm truly not. And then when you switch, I'll switch it up every now and then. Today I had this was the first time I ever had this. I had a ribeye cap steak, and I was at Costco and they had it. I was like, this is a weird looking thing, but it had a lot of marbling and fat on it. I'm like, this is going to be good to get my fat up there. That thing was delicious and it was totally different. I mean, you could taste the ribeye in it, but different taste altogether because the way it's I don't know, the way it's formed and the fat content and everything. It was delicious. I haven't gotten sick of steak. I'm approaching 100 days and I haven't gotten sick of it. In fact, every time I eat it, I just got a big smile on my face because I don't have those sugar cravings anymore. That's what people that haven't started carnivore, it's hard to sort of grasp that not having those cravings for sugar and all that other junk food once you're in that deep ketosis. It's just like my body wants more cholesterol and fat and steak and it wants a that's the only thing I really seem to crave anymore, but
Yeah, I mean, mainly for me as well, I like, there are other foods that I eat sometimes, like, sometimes I eat chicken wings and other things, like I said earlier, but for the most part, I crave steak, like, or, of course, dino ribs or something like that. That's my dog's barking, y'all might have heard it, but that good beefy flavor that you get, by eating, steak or whatever, that's what I crave. Like, I don't come home and I know it's like there's, like, beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, but I don't crave the eggs and I don't crave the bacon. I mean, I'll eat bacon and I'll eat eggs, but like if there's eggs sitting there and there's bacon sitting there and there's a ribeye sitting there, I'm taking the ribeye. And I was talking to Sean at like we had bad weather here in Alabama a couple days ago and we lost power for a day and a half. And I was talking to Sean on the from Intentional Carnivore on the phone and we were talking about like different things that we crave and I was like, man, it's so crazy that like I thought I would get bored with all these steaks, but every day when I'm at work and I'm thinking, man, what am I going to cook for supper, and the first thing I'm thinking about is steak. I'm always thinking about cooking steak. So people think you're going to get bored with it, but me, I just crave it. I don't get to eat a ribeye like every night. I eat it probably 3 to maybe 4 times a week. I eat probably about 4 ribeyes, a big ribeyes per week. and sometimes I luck up and get a little bit more than that. But that's what I think about eating when I'm on carnivore. I dream about eating ribeyes.
Yeah, it's hard to explain to people that haven't done it before, but same thing for me. And after I eat a big ribeye or a big fatty steak, first of all, I'm full, which is great, but it's almost like I haven't had caffeine in a long time, but it's almost like a caffeine rush or something. Like I get energy afterwards and I get motivated, and I'm usually like starting a project a little bit later after that. You think like before this, when I used to have a big meal, I'd be sluggish and I'd be like ready to take a nap. For me, it's different when I get the steak. It's like my body's thanking me, like, yeah, that's just took you 42 years to figure this out. This is all I wanted the whole time. Now give me some more of that.
The only other thing that I crave besides steak, every now and then I'll catch myself really, really wanting it, and it's seafood, like shrimp or sometimes salmon or something like that. But for the most part, it's steak. It's just I live on the Gulf Coast down in South Alabama. I live not far from the beach, not too far from the beach, and so seafood's always been a big part of our diet, and like crawfish because we live close to Mobile and close to New Orleans and all that stuff. So crawfish has always been big, and like Cajun dishes and stuff. And of course, Southern country food because I live in Alabama, like the fried chicken and all that stuff. But I don't do all that anymore. But I'm always thinking about steak, and then every now and then I'm like, I need to go get some good shrimp or cook some shrimp up or something like that.
Right. Yeah, I've done a little bit of that too. I've had a little bit of shrimp and salmon here or there on carnivore. Yeah, it's nice sometimes to change it up. That's one nice thing that my daughters have joined me, two of them anyhow, and one of them I'd never really even cooked salmon at home before, but she's really good at it. So it's really nice every now and then to not have to cook for myself. She's like, "Oh, I'm making
Mhm.
some salmon up tonight." I'm like, "Oh, great. I'll have some of that." My other daughter, the vegan that's turned carnivore, Emma, too, she's been cooking a lot more stuff up lately, too. Lots of her go-to is burger patties. So it's pretty simple, but hey, you can't go wrong. I never get sick of those either. It seems like oddly enough, but always have enough burgers. But
I like
wow, this is
burgers too. I like burgers too. I've tried like the ground up, like, and I'll do that if I'm in a rush and I don't have time to form a patty. But I don't like it as much for some reason when it's like ground up, kind of like taco meat. I prefer to have the actual burger for some reason. And my favorite way, of course, is put it on the smoker, like run your pit like 250 to 275. And when you do that, you don't want a small burger. You want it to be at least a half a pound. So you could do a half a pound, 3/4 pound, or a pound if you want to. I did a video like in May for my birthday where I tried to do a 3-pound smoked burger, and it was 3 pounds, and I tried my best, but I wasn't able to finish it. It was a fun video to do that and sit there and try to eat it, but I didn't make it through it. My daughter's walking in here to say hello for a second.
oh,
She's a little
awesome.
1 year old. Say hey
Oh,
everybody. That's my little baby girl. This is everybody asks why I started carnivore. She's the reason that I started carnivore because I want to be around and good night, baby. I want to be around and dance with her at her wedding at whenever she's older, and I want to like not just be sitting in the crowd. I want to be able to do things with her and help her mow her grass or something like that. And I know if I kept going on the journey that I was on, that would never happen. So I'm so thankful and indebted to people like Dr. Barry. Like, I mean, I would love to just one day just shake his hand because like the dude has helped so many people. Like he will never know how many people he's actually helped. Well, even whenever I was doing keto and watching his channel, then he was helping me, and he's just he's just helped me in so many ways, and other people that I haven't mentioned here tonight. And I just want to shake his hand one day and tell him thank you.
Likewise, same thing. I came on to carnivore from watching Dante from Frigno Freedom, but I wasn't convinced yet. I'm like, this just seems so crazy. And then I went down the Dr. Barry rabbit hole. I've watched so many videos and read so many comments on his channel, and that's ultimately what convinced me to start it. And the thing that I also realized was just what you're saying. I don't think he realizes how many people he's helped. I've mentioned this before, but just in one video of the hundreds of videos that man has done, the reversing type 2 diabetes video, It has like 2 million views and it has 2,000 comments. And just go read those comments. Anyone out here that wants to know more about carnivore or Dr. Berry, or you're thinking about doing this, read the comments on that video. Almost every other comment is, Dr. Berry, you saved my life. Dr. Berry, you reversed my diabetes. My A1C was this, and now it's this. Dr. Berry, you saved my life. Dr. Berry, after going to my own doctor for 10 years, they did nothing for me. I watched your 10-minute video. It's completely changed my life. Comment after comment of him literally saving people's lives. He deserves like a Nobel Prize or something, some more recognition, because you can't even measure how many, because those are just the people that happen to go back and comment. Like, you can't even measure. And that's just on one video of hundreds of videos that he's done. You can't even measure how many people that he's helped.
Yeah, he needs some type of an award. I don't know what it's gonna be, and I know the food industry can't stand him, and other people can't stand him. But look, he's helped so many people, and then when I was watching his videos, I know you're not a Southerner, but you're not a Southerner, right? But when I heard his accent and heard him talking, I was like, well, he kind of talks like I do, so he's got to be telling the truth.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, he one of the greatest things, like, so my wife and I own the movie theater. We're playing Spider-Man above us. I always love movies and everything. And young when I was younger, it was always like looking up to these movie stars and actors. And now that I'm older, it's like foolish. If I could meet anyone in the world, it would be like Dr. Berry. Like, this guy's saving people's lives. It's amazing what he's doing. So when I did that 30-day video we were talking about earlier, he actually commented on it, and I was so happy. It was amazing. And so I reached out to him. I was like, I would love to talk to you or be on your YouTube or anything I can do to help you. And he got back to me on Instagram. This was before the low carb cruise. He said, "Why don't we do a live Q&A on your channel?" And I was like, yes, I was so happy. So I'm still trying to schedule it with, I think that was right before he left on the, I don't have a date yet. The man is so busy and was just on vacation for, I don't know, a week or 2 weeks or whatever. I shouldn't even say he was on vacation, because he was working on the low carb cruise, giving lectures and talks and stuff. But that'll be amazing if I could talk to him. But yeah, I was just thinking, gosh, if I would have been so nervous to do that before. It's just going to be a big honor. I wish I could just climb through the screen and shake his hand or give him a big hug, like you said too. It's just amazing what he's done.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, this has been a lot of fun. We're at over an hour now. I don't know if we really set a time. Do you have a little bit of time left, or
Oh, I got plenty of time, man. You go ahead, because we started like normally I start my lives at 8 with Sean and him, but since we started at 7:30, I'm good right now.
right? Your daughter's adorable, by the way. That's amazing. It's going to be so cool when you are walking her down the aisle at her wedding. And one of the things that you're going to get to do, and I'm going to get to do, and a lot of people, God willing, I'm going to get to do, a lot of people aren't, is you're going to be able to look back at these memories now because you have this YouTube channel. That was one of the things that made me stick to YouTube. I almost quit it a couple of years ago, but I'd look back and I'd be like, wow, 8 years ago, my girls were, they were tiny and we were like out building a chicken coop or something. And now it's like, someday I'm going to be an old man and at least I'm going to have these memories to look back on YouTube too. So that's kind of a cool little added benefit you get for documenting your journey here on YouTube.
Yeah, even today I was just scrolling. Sometimes I'll just be scrolling, looking at my YouTube, not on my channel, but just scrolling and seeing if any new carnivore videos pop up. But I was scrolling today, and like I don't think it was the first video I did, but it was an older video that I done that popped up, which, my channel's not but like 4.5 months old or something like that, or 4 months old. But it was one of the first videos I done, and whenever I seen it, I just looked at a picture of my face, and I about teared up, because and even though it's only been 4 months, I can see the difference by seeing that video. I
Yep.
could see the difference in my face, and then I think back to where I was at mentally. Like, when I did that video, I was still in this mode of like thinking. I mean, I was pepping myself up in the way I talked, but there was still a little bit of worry in me, like, am I actually going to stick with this, or is anything going to change? And just the growth from then. No, I'm not talking about the channel, the subscribers, all that's been great, but like the growth in me, like the confidence that I have now, the the energy that I have now, the zero pain that the less pain that I have, just so many things. It's just, and it's all because I decided, hey, I'm gonna give this crazy, crazy thing called the carnivore diet. I'm just gonna give it a try, and it's just been amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say, I can see the change in your face since you started too. Someone else just left a comment earlier too, before you even mentioned that, like a half an hour ago, they said the same thing. You can totally see the difference already. And yeah, it's those that's the as Sean from Intentional Carnivore says, there's those non-scale victories too, besides the weight loss. And like you were saying, the energy and the motivation, that has been just something I never imagined going into carnivore diet. I was like, I'm doing this to lose weight. I'm doing it because I have this arthritis in my foot and pain in my back. I'm hoping those things, I hope my sleep will improve. But the motivation and energy I have on carnivore now, I'm just going nonstop. And that never would have happened in a million years before starting carnivore. It's a crazy thing, but
Yeah, and sometimes you forget, sometimes if you're not careful, you forget what it felt like before.
right.
You forget what that pain felt like, or me, I'll be at work now and I don't like after I eat lunch, I don't get that crash like I used to. And I don't think about it because you people get so used to their normal.
Mhm.
And but I remember when I really think about it, man, you remember when you used to eat that food and then you just felt like falling asleep and could barely keep your eyes open, and then an hour after that you were starving again and you were looking for some more food, and now like I could just go all day long and not eat, and I would be fine. Like if I decided not to eat supper today, I could have just made it till tomorrow and it wouldn't have been a big deal. And
Right.
before I was up and down, up and down. And then I don't know if you ever battled with diabetes. I don't remember if you mentioned that, but I know I used to get the shakes all the time. Like my sugar would bottom out, and that is a horrible feeling because you all you think about is like, where's the milk, where's the cookies, where's the ice cream, where's the Fruit Loop cereal and all that stuff. And I never have to think about that. I never have to go through that. All I think about is what I'm doing in my life, and then every now and then I think about food. And that's whenever I get to think about my barbecue pits because I'm like, I got to fire up one of them and cook me something.
Right. Yeah, it's very freeing and liberating being on carnivore. Because before I was the same way. I was always, what are we gonna eat? What's for dinner? What's next? And you have all those sugar roller coaster. You'd eat breakfast. Oh, I'm fine now. And then 2 hours later, oh my goodness, I'm starving. What am I gonna eat now? What are we gonna do? And yeah, I don't think about it anymore. There's times just like you where I forget I gotta eat something now. It's like I could go till tomorrow and I'll be just perfectly fine. It's a yeah,
Yeah.
it's very freeing, and it's freeing in another way too that you're in total control of your body, whereas before you were kind of beholden to your food and what are you going to eat, what are you going to do next, kind of thing. There's something about having that freedom that changes life on many different levels that it's kind of hard to explain.
Yeah. And when I started carnivore, I was like, man, I hope that I don't have to stop cooking barbecue because I had already invested thousands of dollars in smokers. And I was like, if I have to stop cooking barbecue because I had learned so many different, like I used to mix up like different sauces and mix up like I would do ribs with like some type of apple jelly or all these different
Hmm.
crazy things like habanero, honey ham, or some crazy different thing. And I used to love that stuff, and I was worried about losing or not being able to do that stuff anymore. And I noticed quickly after I started carnivore, hey, you can still have great barbecue. And I was like, you have to not have, like, for me, the sauces, they're a no-go. Sauces are off limits. I don't even think about sauces because I know every sauce, it either has brown sugar in it or it has some type of sugar in it, or it's got an artificial sugar. Like if it's that zero sugar barbecue sauce, one of them brands, it's still going to have a bunch of artificial stuff in it. And for me, I don't even go there. But rubs, I personally, a lot of my rubs I make, but I do share with some of the people that watch my channel some of the rubs that I buy. And there's been people that have sent me rubs from my channel. But that I guess that leads me to just that's kind of why another reason I started the channel is because I was about a month in to carnivore already, and I was like, man, I can still do barbecue, and I can. What if I don't? What if I just document my journey as well as show these people how I cook barbecue and show other people? Because you would be amazed how many people message me every day, like literally every day. People say, "Thank you for the barbecue videos," or you helped me learn how to cook barbecue today, or I now know how to cook barbecue because of you, or I learned something new in that video. And that encourages me because that's one of the things I wanted to do with the channel is not just talk about carnivore. I mean, I love carnivore, don't get me wrong, that I'm super passionate about it. If you again, my channel name is Carnivore Kipp Barbecue and Cast Iron, and it's in that order for a reason, because carnivore comes first when it comes to the channel, but through I want to share through the method of cooking barbecue and cast iron tips and techniques to help other people learn, because a lot of people, they're in their apartment and all they can use is their air fryers or their crock pots, and that's fine. But for those of y'all that live out in God's country and you're able to fire up a pit or something like that, but maybe you don't know how, I just want other people to get to learn how to do those things, because I was in my 20s. I was around 20 or 21, 22 when I got into it. So don't think that somebody raised me from a little kid knowing all this barbecue stuff. I learned it. And if I learned it, everyone that's watching this video, they can learn it as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I was thinking maybe we'll take some questions here. There's a couple. I always fall behind on this thing. Let's see what. So if you guys have any questions for Carnivore Kipp, I know there's a couple here already. Just please put a cue down, and then I'll be able to spot them a little quicker. And if I missed one, maybe repost it. But I'm trying to go through here. There was a couple earlier.
Yeah, let's see what you got.
This one's from Adam. He says, Kipp, are you back on track after your birthday weekend losing more?
That tells me that they have been watching my channel for a little while, and I appreciate them for that. But yeah, I'm back on track. You know, after my birthday weekend, because my birthday was May 27th, but I cheated like Memorial Day, which was like the end of the end of May. It was a couple days after my birthday, but it was still that weekend. So I cheated, and after that I weighed, which was right around June 1st or June 2nd, and I was up 11 pounds. So then since then, since June 1st, I've lost the 11 pounds plus 4 more pounds. So I'm down 15 pounds from there, but I'm down 4 pounds from where I initially was at. So right now I'm down 84 pounds, and I would consider myself definitely on track. I'm pushing through that stall. Like that stall's not going to win this battle. I'm not giving up. And if I have to take something else out, like if I have to take, I don't know what else I can take out, but if I have to take some seasoning out or something, I will do it, because I'm pushing through this stall.
Awesome. Yeah, I think you might have just answered this one, but they said, how much weight have you lost this year?
84 pounds. 84 pounds.
Awesome. So you're 16 away from 100. That's going to be exciting.
And I'm 3 pounds away from the 400 club, because I was getting close to 500 pounds. And when I weighed this morning, and I was 402 pounds. And the time I weighed before that, I was 404 pounds. So in 3 more pounds, I'm just trying to hurry up and get these 3 pounds gone, because I want to be in the 300-pound club. And I never, ever, ever want to weigh 400 and something pounds again for the rest of my life.
That's going to be one heck of an achievement.
Absolutely.
Let's see what other questions we have here. Oh, here's a good one. Steve Oswald, what was your go-to carnivore meals when you started Kerry and Kipp? For me, this is the advice I give to people too. The first week on carnivore, I'm like, this is going to be crazy. This is going to be hard. I'm in it for the long run, but I'm like, I'm going to allocate some of my budget up front and spoil myself. And I'm going to get some really good steaks, because I know the first week can be hard for a lot of people on carnivore. Some people will get the keto flu. Fortunately, I didn't in retrospect, but I didn't know that going into it. So ribeye was my go-to. And for some reason, like that first week, I had shrimp a couple times. So I had ribeye and shrimp. I don't have shrimp very often anymore. Every now and then I will, but big fatty ribeye was my go-to meal. And then just real quick, the other thing, Emma and I just did a video on this, but this has been a lifesaver for us is we always talk about the BBBE, beef, butter, bacon, eggs. Emma and I just did a video, I think yesterday or the day before. Um, Dr. Berry's advice and some of the other doctors is like eat beef, eat bacon, eat butter, eat eggs. I don't necessarily think he was saying do that all at once, but that's what Emma and I do. We make this power bowl up, we call it. And so we'll cook bacon in the cast iron skillet, and then I'll add the eggs in. And then in a separate skillet, I'll do the ground beef, and then I'll put some butter on it. And I'm kind of like you, Kip. I don't really like ground beef very much, but I do like it this way. And I'll put some butter in at the end, and it'll really crisp up the beef. It's almost like a smash burger consistency where you get the little crusty edges. Long story short, I'll put all of that beef and butter in with the eggs and bacon, and then you have the BBBE Power Bowl. It's so delicious. Emma loves it, and she makes that all the time. And then we'll make up a ton of it. We have this huge cast iron skillet, and then we'll put it in the refrigerator, and then we just got a nice go-to. So that's my long-winded answer. Ribeye and the BBBE Power Bowl have been my favorite meals when we first started. What about you, Kip?
Yeah, I've seen that cast iron skillet that you used. That looked like it was probably like a 15-inch skillet. There's actually one, they're harder to find now. There's one that's like it's a 20-inch skillet and it's massive. Like some of them are rare. They were made like 100, 150 year or 120 years ago, and like by some companies like Griswold and different companies. And those, if you ever see one anywhere that's big and old, get it. But as far as foods go, for me, a lot of times I'll do like burgers for lunch. I like you said, I don't like the ground up stuff that much. I will eat it, but like I gotta add a lot more seasonings to it, but to get it down. But burgers for lunch a lot of times, and then steak for supper. And sometimes to keep budget in mind, I'll use cheaper cuts of steak, and they might be leaner, but I'll offset it by cooking in tallow or adding a little bit of butter to it when it's done cooking. Like what is it, like sirloin steaks? If you want to save money, you can get by with that and add some fat to it. Or T-bones sometimes are cheaper than ribeyes. Even New York strips, sometimes you can find good prices on them. But if I can have my preference on when it comes to steak, which I do a lot of in the week, is ribeyes. Everybody loves, or most people like ribeyes. But I don't really never buy filet mignon. I feel like it's too lean and it's just not worth the money, in my opinion. Like the only way I like a filet mignon is if you wrap it in a bunch of bacon and then cook it, and then it's only really good because of the bacon, not because of the filet. And that's just my opinion. But and then on the weekends, I like doing a lot of your bigger meats like brisket and pork butts. I mean, your tri-tips and all that stuff that's going to take, you got a bunch of meats that take 2 to 4 hours, and then you get into some of your ribs and things like that. I like to cook ribs a lot. Then your dino ribs and stuff's like 6 to 7 hours, and then you get into your 8 to 9 hours like your pork butts, and your 10-hour stuff like your briskets, and on and things like that.
Good stuff. Here's another question. This is a good one for Kip. Do you have a suggestion for a easy to keep cast iron pan? I use nonstick for almost everything. I don't like to try cast iron, but don't want the time to give a time investment to the pan. So I think they're looking for a suggestion on an easy to keep cast iron pan.
Well, most cast iron is not hard to take care of once you learn how to take care of it. Because a lot of people mess up where the worst thing you can ever do when you cook, and I do it sometimes and I regret it after I do it. The worst thing you can ever do is when you cook with it, you just let it sit there for a day or two and then you try to clean it. And that's terrible, terrible, terrible. The best time to clean it is when it's still hot or at least still warm. But the trick is when a cast iron skillet is hot, never put it in cold water. So if your skillet's still hot, do not turn your sink on with cold water and put your skillet in there, because over time you're going to warp your skillet, and a warped skillet don't cook as evenly, and you can actually crack cast iron. I know it sounds very hard, but there's a bunch of people that crack their cast iron by not knowing how to cook with it and how to clean it properly. But if you learn how to clean cast iron, you should be set with most brands of cast iron. Now, I have preferences on brands. If just like I do with grills, if you want something cheaper, get you a Lodge cast iron skillet. The thing is, Lodge works fine. They work great, but they're not the best cast iron there is. The best cast iron is actually older antique cast iron, like Griswold makes some, Airy makes some. There's some other brands, Wagner, Marion. There's some other brands that are out there that make, but those are harder to find, and you got to know what you're looking for. But if you're wanting to buy nice cast iron modern, like if you want to buy really nice cast iron today, then I would go with either Stargazer cast iron. You can look them up on Google, Stargazer cast iron, or Field Company cast iron. They have really good cast iron. And then one more brand I'll shout out. There's others, but another brand that's nice, but they cost a lot too, is Lancaster cast iron. So sorry about getting on a rant on cast iron, but those are some brands.
No, that's good stuff. I'm gonna keep my eye open because we go to rummage sales and auctions and stuff all the time, and I've never really looked that closely before. But I'm gonna check what the big one that I have is, because you asked me that earlier, and I don't know the brand I have on that one. I don't remember where I got that thing from. I love it though. I use that thing pretty much every day, I think.
And what
Here's
you'll
another.
notice with the more expensive cast iron or the older cast iron is it's naturally going to be a lot smoother. Now, you can use grinders and stuff like that and grind cast iron, but if you do it like if that okay, so cast iron lasts generations. Like it could last 200 years and somebody could use that skillet. And then that skillet might be worth some money. But if you sanded it at all, it's never going to be worth anything. Nobody is ever going to want to collect sanded down, grinded down cast iron. They want the natural thing. So the older companies, the way that they did it, the way that they formed the cast iron, it was a lot smoother. And so, especially like if you're cooking eggs or anything like that, they come out of there easier and they're just easier to clean. They're not as rough on the inside. But you can get by cook. Don't I'm not telling everybody to go buy expensive cast iron. They can use a Lodge and cook the rest of their life. But if they ever cook on a really old, nice, smooth cast iron skillet, or like a lot or like the brands that I mentioned a while ago, they will see and feel the difference immediately.
Good stuff. All right, we got a question from Primal Mike, who's commented and giving me some really good feedback on the carnivore diet documentary we're working on, and always good comments. Mike's asking, what is the most meat you've had in one sitting on carnivore? He does 2 pounds of steak easily on a regular basis and feels he could do 3. What about you, Kip?
On carnivore, the most I've tried was that 3 pound burger, and I wasn't able to finish it. I ate about 2/3 of it, so I would say about 2 pounds of it. But I don't prefer burgers as much as I do steak. So honestly, next time I do a challenge like that, I'm probably gonna use a steak instead because I think I could handle more steak than I could of that burger. I think, I think I could handle a 3 pound burger. Like, but I don't know, that might be something fun that I do for everybody on the channel one day is get a big steak for one of my milestones and see if I can crush it.
That would be a fun video. What was that? The Great Outdoors movie. You remember that one with John Candy?
I know the name and I know the name John Candy, but I don't remember the movie. I don't remember if I watched it.
Oh, it was a good one. In it, they went to a restaurant and they had to eat this gigantic steak to get one for free. It was a very it was very funny. That'd be a fun remake. Uh, yeah, I don't know myself. I've probably come close to 2 pounds. I usually I've been breaking it up lately, so I'll usually have the beef butter bacon egg bowl in the morning, and then I'll just have like maybe a pound or so of steak later. I'm sure I could do more. It's interesting though because today Emma made some patties. I had 2 patties, and then I had that ribeye cap steak, and that was the first time I've ever eaten it. And I had to put half of it in the refrigerator, which I never do with steak. I hate putting it in the refrigerator. I want to eat it when it's hot and it's off the grill. But I was so full that thing was very filling. That cap steak. Terry's asking, we might have covered this. What's the lion diet? That's just ruminant meat, salt, and water. Nothing else. It's carnivore diet, but very, very strict. And Dante from Frigno Freedom, he's got some great videos on it. He's been doing it for over 900 days now.
Also, I just noticed that the Kilby Life is in the chat. He also has done like and documented a lot of his journey on the line diet. So, like when I first started hearing about the line diet, I watched a lot of Ferrigno Freedom, and even when I first started carnivore, I watched a lot of him, and I watched a lot of the Kilby Life as well. So, anybody on here, this is a little shout out to the Kilby Life. Y'all check him out too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's so many great channels. It's hard to keep up with all of them. But yeah, I love it. The more the better. That's yeah, I mentioned briefly, so I'm working on the carnivore diet movie. And I was saying that to someone the other day. They kind of just said they were being nice, but they're like, why are you going to be like the carnivore diet movie guy? And I'm like, I don't want to be. I wish like Dr. Barry or someone else wanted to do it, or I wish that there was like 5 carnivore diet movies. Maybe there'll be more that come out, but I'm not seeing anybody else doing it. So that's the reason that I'm taking it on. Um, yeah, I did a little update about that before, but I'm so excited about doing that. Maybe, Kipp, if you're interested, we can have some of your story in the documentary as well. I don't want to put you on the spot or anything, but
Oh, absolutely, brother. Like, I'm already looking forward to seeing the Carnivore Diet movie 2 and Carnivore Diet movie 3, and you might be the one making all of them, you know? I'm excited about it ever since I've heard you talk about it, because not a lot of people just step out and say, "Hey, I'm gonna take on something like this." So, I mean, that took a lot of courage to take that on and to actually put the time and effort into it is, like, super cool. Because I mean, even just having a channel, people don't realize how much time it takes to make the videos and edit them and all that stuff. People think we just hop behind a camera and
right.
just start talking, and sometimes I do that, but then even after that, I gotta go edit it, and I gotta
Mhm.
figure out a way to upload it and all this other stuff, and
Thumbnail.
I gotta name it something that people might like to watch, otherwise they won't click on it. So, I mean, there's a lot that goes into that, and you're taking the time with that, plus your family, and for you to be, it just shows that your heart's really in making the movie, because otherwise you wouldn't have took on something like that. So I'm excited about it, and any way that I can help at all, count me in. I will do my best to help you in any way I can.
That's great. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I mentioned this briefly before, but it's funny because I actually watched it again last night. Um, the reason I learned about keto, this was a long time ago, maybe 15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, was from a documentary. I think I saw it on Netflix. It was called Fathead, and it was all about keto. Well, it wasn't strictly about keto, but it was the way I learned about and first heard about keto. And it put me on the path towards carnivore. And like I said, I do way better on carnivore, but keto was life changing for me as well. I lost a bunch of weight and improved some things on it. But that was the main reason for this. Is it's like, man, there needs to be something because YouTube's great, but there's such a small subset of people that are maybe hopeless or depressed or having at the end of their road, that such a small subset that just also happen to be on YouTube. There's so many other people that are on Amazon Prime or Netflix or some of these big streaming services. So that was the other reason I really wanted to do it. And now that I've started down the road, it's been so exciting. I spoke with Dr. Anthony Chafee a couple days ago, and it was amazing. That guy, without saying, is brilliant. So many good carnivore doctors out there too, but he is so smart. And I was on his channel, and we ended up talking. We're like, oh my goodness, it's been 2 hours, and we dropped. He stopped the video, and then he wanted to talk a little bit more after that. We talked for another hour afterwards, and I kind of put him on the spot and asked if he'd be interested in participating in any way at all, even if it was just like, hey, looking over it, giving me some ideas for the documentary. And he enthusiastically agreed to, and that was why we talked for another hour afterwards. So yeah, I'm really excited about the documentary. And then later that night I met with a carniv documentary filmmaker. He's done documentaries for the BBC. And this guy, his name is Chad. He gave me so much invaluable information and advice. And he's from down south. I forgot where he's from, maybe kind of near you, but he's just happens that he's going to be in my state in a couple of weeks. So I invited him over. He's going to come to the movie theater. Maybe I'll have him back and I'll make him a steak or something. But it's going to be awesome. He's going to be able to. I'm going to show him the progress we have on the documentary and get more feedback from him. So, anyhow, I'm totally excited for it, and I appreciate your comments on there. Let me see if we have any other questions on here. I fell way behind on this. Thank you so much for all of the encouragement and nice comments. The carnivore community is just amazing. Let's see, what is this
I didn't
one?
think that the carnivore community would be like it is. Like, whenever I started watching videos, I had never, talk with many people in the carnivore community or anything. And as soon as I started getting to really communicate back and forth with different people, I was like, man, there's just so many regular people just like me. And it's just been amazing. Like I always like to thank Dave as well from No Carb Life, because like he actually gave me my first interview whenever no one else was reaching out. Like I wasn't getting anybody reaching out or nothing. He just happened to see one of my videos, and it was probably a terrible video, and he's just like, hey, I'm gonna talk to this guy. And it kind of helped me. I wouldn't say it just took me off into like space or nothing, but it helped me kind of get a little bit of footing and get people, kind of watching my content. And so it's just really cool that everybody that I've ran across in the carnivore journey or whatever has helped each other out and things like that. I'm not saying that everybody's perfect or everybody is, the best example, but for the most part, most of the people I've come across has been amazing.
Likewise, I've been doing YouTube for 8 years, 514 videos. Just a couple weeks ago, I finally hit 100,000 subscribers. That was my goal from day one on YouTube. It took forever. And it was like you were saying earlier, people don't realize how much work YouTube is. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but you're absolutely right, Kip. It's so much work. Just today, I filmed one video. I put it live at like 2. I got up at 5:30 in the morning, filmed it. I was editing it all day, and I'm like, I got to get this done by noon. I didn't get done till 2, and that's just one video. And that was just, I was just riffing too. It was very little editing compared to some of the other videos. But long story short, been doing YouTube for 8 years. The homesteading community is great. I don't want to say anything bad about them, but I would do videos. I'd spend 20 hours on one video. I get like 4 comments. I put a carnivore video up. You get so many comments, questions, inspiration, people rooting for each other. It's the most amazing community. It's unbelievable. It's the other reason why I'm motivated to just keep doing more carnivore videos. I just went through it quick, but Carnivore Ron, thank you so much. Carnivore Ron was the first person I interviewed on my channel, actually, and he's got his own YouTube channel now too. So go check him out as well. Carnivore Ron is 72, I think. I'm sorry, Ron, if I messed that up. He's been doing carnivore for 5 years and he's just thriving. But awesome. He's doing his own YouTube channel too, and he's always on here commenting. So I really appreciate it. Uh-oh, my screen just went dark. Oh, are we still there? I think so.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. Wow, that was weird. My whole screen went black for a second. So we had another question for Kip. Why do you think pepper and garlic powder would not be okay on carnivore? I've had a few dill pickles. Hope they don't stall my weight loss.
Me personally, I have black pepper and I have garlic powder. Like when I make my homemade rubs, a lot of times I use garlic and black pepper and some other things in them. But of course, no sugar or no brown sugar or anything like that. But I do use certain things like that, so I don't know if you're thinking that I have a problem with it, but I don't. But I do understand, like, for, like, the true, like, if you wanna be the truest of the true, then you would just go with, like, meat and salt, like, and I understand that, like, or even go as far as line diet, but I think you can most people could probably get great results with using salt and pepper and garlic, but there is a section of people out there that, like, even if they have black pepper, they have inflammation issues or different issues that arise from it. Like, I think Sean was talking in his live chat tonight about black pepper and like different issues that he was having and had to cut the black pepper back. So you got to do what's best for you. If black pepper or garlic is causing you a problem, if I'm using black pepper and garlic, don't use it just because I'm using it. You do what's best for you. And if you need to cut it out, cut it out. But for right now, I still use it.
Good stuff. This one, Thomas, question: how much weight have you lost since starting the carnivore diet, and how tall are you, Kerry? So I'm 5'10", and I've lost. Well, I'm actually down even more. I always say 40 pounds. When I started carnivore, I think I showed it in my 30-day video. I was 222, and when I weighed myself last, I'm in like 178. So I'm down about 44 pounds. And I was so pumped. This was like 2 days ago. I weighed myself. I We were talking before, Kip, about stalls and things like that. I don't remember ever weighing myself and being in the 170s. And when I used to do keto, I I fought so hard to try to get under, I think it was like 187. I couldn't break 187, or it was 186 or something like that. I could not break it on keto. I went so far as to do a 3-day water fast, a 5-day water fast, cut out cheese, cut out nuts. Like I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna get, and my body was like, nope. And I could never get like under 186. Only on carnivore was I able to. And so yeah, I'm like 178 right now, which is, I think when I was in high school was probably the last time I was that weight before then. And at my heaviest though, I was 260, and I lost about 40 pounds throughout the years on keto. I gained it back, lost it, gained it back, lost it. But from my heaviest to now, I'm down 84 pounds. What about you, Kip? I think we kind of touched on it earlier, but there might be some new people on here.
Yeah, from the day I started, in January, I'm down 84 pounds. From my total, like, from my very highest ever, I think I'm down, like, 90 or 92 pounds, but from starting, I'm down 84 pounds, and I know without a shadow of a doubt that it could have been more than that. I mean, I did very well, but those allowing the cheese in and allowing the cheat meals, like, on 2 weekends, that did mess things up, and I've learned a lot from that. I'm not saying, like you, I'm not saying that I'll never cheat again, but I don't need to cheat for a long time. Like, if I'm ever gonna have some off-plan thing, like, maybe it needs to be planned out way in the future or something like that, like, maybe my birthday next year, a year from now, and I don't think it would hurt me if I had some cake then or something, but, I don't n and honestly, by then, I probably won't even want the cake. Like, eating this way for so long, you start craving that stuff, so, yeah.
Good stuff. Tina Kathleen, always a great commenter. Thanks for introducing us to Carnivore Kip. I will search and watch his channel too from now on. Yeah, go check it out, and definitely try that reverse sear. Actually, like I said, I hesitate to tell people that because now every time I'm like, I got to reverse sear this thing if I want to do it properly, and then it turns into a project. But let's see. Oh, I always hate ending these things, but I got to wrap this up soon because our movie's over, and I got to get up there and help. But let's see, maybe one more question. Oh, there's so many good comments here. It's hard to find them. Let's see. And while I'm looking, our friend Sean from Intentional Carnivore, shout out, commented a few on here. Thank you so much, Sean. Check out Sean's channel too. That man is an inspiration as well. Lost 243 pounds in 1 year. But if you talk to him, he doesn't even care about the weight loss. It's all of the other things that have changed for him. Here's one from Sean. He uses a Weber kettle now and a Dynaglow smoker. Awesome. Yeah, I don't think I've ever talked with Sean about smoking or barbecue or anything quite yet. Let's see
He
if we
does a
got any.
lot of his stuff, I think he does a lot of it in the oven, and then, like, he'll go low and slow in the oven instead of on a smoker, and then he'll finish searing it on the grill, I think. I think that's what he does a lot of the time, and he'll meal prep that way. I pick at him about the gas grill. I mean, anybody that knows me, they know give everybody a hard time about a gas grill, but honestly, you can use what you want, you can use whatever you got. I'm too much of a purist to use the gas grills.
Right. That's funny. Is there while I look for one more question, is there a go-to carnivore Kip for getting barbecue? Like, have you been anywhere that's just been amazing that you'd recommend to people? Because I always hear like Franklin's barbecue is one of the good places. I don't know if I just hear that because he's got quite a few videos on YouTube, but is there anywhere you've gone or recommended or maybe traveled outside of your state that's like the really good barbecue place?
Um, I've I've been to Texas a few times, and um, honestly, I think most of what and I don't say this pridefully, but I'm say this, I'm being serious. Most of the barbecue that I've had at restaurants is in my opinion is not as good as what I can do at the house. So my favorite is going to be me cooking it at home. But I mean, there are a few barbecue restaurants in Texas that I haven't tried that I want to try. I was thinking about going to, maybe I could get to go to KetoCon, or even though they changed the name, maybe I can go to that either next year or the year after that. And because there's a few places, one's called Snow's Barbecue that I want to try. There's one called Leroy and Lewis that I want to try. And then there's one over there in Texas called what's it called? I cannot, Goldie's Barbecue. It's called
Yeah,
Goldie's Barbecue. I really want to try those places. There's a few more. I can't name them all, but there are places I want to try. But honestly, most of what I've had, and I have heard of Franklin's, and I've heard that he's got really great barbecue. It would probably be closer to my style of barbecue, but also I noticed from watching a lot of videos, he overcooks his barbecue just a little bit because that's what customers at a restaurant are used to seeing, and that's what they look for. So he'll take his briskets a little bit longer than I would. I like it. I mean, I like it good and soft and tender, but not quite mushy. But most people, when they're getting it serving it at a restaurant, it's going to be more mushy. And people, in the same way with ribs, and if it's completely fall apart, people at a restaurant are going to freak out thinking it's the best ribs they ever had. And me, I'm thinking, no, that just means he overcooked it by 30 minutes.
right.
Uh, because I like them to where when I pick up the rib, it's still on the bone, but whenever I bite it, it comes clean off the bone. So it'll hold itself up and I can eat it. I'm not having to pick the meat up off my plate because there's no bone to hold on to.
That's so interesting too, because yeah, when I would smoke stuff up, that would always be a challenge when you have a bunch of family over. There's some that want it completely fall off the bone, and then you got the other purists where it's like, no, I want it a little bit more tender. I want it to stay on the bone. Yeah, that's one kind of tricky thing with it, but I don't know. All I know is you smoke up some food for a bunch of family. It's 100 times better than anything else. Like just throwing some burgers or brats on the grill. It's always way better.
It
But
is. It
yeah,
really
this
is.
was a lot of fun, Kip. I really appreciate it. I always hate ending these things, but yeah, I got to wrap it up now. Our movie's ending, and I hear some footsteps up above me. So we got to do this again sometime, and definitely we'll keep in touch with the carnivore diet movie. And yeah, maybe do some more live streams in the future. I've been really enjoying these. Like I said, I've been doing YouTube 8 years, and this is kind of newer to me, but been having a lot of fun with it, and really enjoyed talking with you today. So thank you.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me on, and I honestly consider us friends now. And it's good to talk with you, and I look forward to talking to you in the future, man, and watching your videos. And that Yoder smoker you got, you can do amazing things with it. I was picking a little bit about pellet grills earlier. That Yoder smoker is a great pellet grill. I sold mine to a family member, and they still use it. When we lost power the past week, like last weekend, we cook prime rib on their Yoder pellet grill, and it makes amazing barbecue.
Yeah, yeah, I'm so pumped up now after talking to you. I'm thinking I gotta try those dino ribs. I'll be in touch. I'll be sending you some pictures like, hey Kip, look, here's what I'm smoking up today. It's I
Absolutely.
gotta post more of that. I started posting some of that on the community tab on YouTube, so I'll have to do some more of that. But yeah, even today I took some pictures on my phone of that ribeye cap steak I did. So yeah, this has been awesome. Thank you so much, Kip. Everyone out there, again, go check out Kip's channel on YouTube. It's a lot of fun. I was cracking up watching the last video. But it's also touching too that you're doing all of this for your daughter and the progress you've made. Really a big inspiration. So it's Carnivore Kip. Find him on YouTube, Carnivore Kip, and Carnivore Kip Barbecue and Cast Iron. So thanks a lot, everyone. Thank you, Kip. I appreciate it. Have a good night. Bye.
Take care.